We've all been there. Something unfortunate happens, and our mind just instantly hits rewind, right? We start searching for a reason, a mistake, a place to put the blame. And so often, that blame lands right back on us, and we get stuck in this loop of what-ifs. Well, today, we're going to explore a really profound piece of wisdom that offers a way out of that cycle.
I mean, does this feel familiar? That mental treadmill where you just replay a negative event over and over and over again? You analyze every single choice you made, totally convinced you could have changed the outcome. It is an exhausting place to be, isn't it?
It's that constant what-if game we play. If only I'd left the house sooner. If only I had just said something different. We literally torture ourselves with these alternate realities where everything turned out better because we're convinced that just one tiny little change would have prevented all the pain.
And this, right here, this is the real heart of the issue. It's this feeling of misgiving, this nagging question that just chains us to the past. Was this my fault? This sense of personal responsibility for things that are often way beyond our control is exactly what we're going to unpack today.
So, how do we break the cycle? Well, the source material we're looking at suggests there's a completely different way to look at these events. It's a perspective that's rooted in a much deeper understanding of reality itself. It's a shift from self-blame to a profound kind of acceptance.
The central concept we need to get our heads around here is haqiqa. It's an Arabic word that means reality or truth. But it's not just talking about what we see on the surface, it's pointing to the fundamental underlying nature of how things truly are.
And this is where this concept of haqiqa becomes incredibly powerful. It's actually at the heart of a teaching from a hadith, a saying of the Prophet Muhammad, which basically says that to grasp the reality of faith, there is a fundamental truth you absolutely have to understand about the events in your life.
Okay, so let's break down the core of this wisdom. What is this reality of faith that can actually free us from that heavy burden of regret?
So this teaching lays out a really powerful idea. It says that anything that does happen to you, whether it's good or bad, was always meant to happen. It was a written, predestined event. And, just as importantly, there's the other side of the coin. Anything that doesn't happen to you was never, ever meant to be in the first place.
So the crucial point here is this powerful sense of inevitability. Forget all those what-ifs about being 2 minutes earlier or later. According to this wisdom, you were meant to be exactly where you were, when you were, for that thing to happen. It just completely removes that illusion of control that fuels all of our regret.
Now, understanding this concept isn't just some big philosophical exercise. As we're about to see, it's actually a really practical tool for changing your entire mindset and directly shutting down that destructive cycle of guilt. And this just illustrates the two paths perfectly. On one side, you've got the path of misgiving. It's filled with those questions of fault and all the if-onlys, which the source says leads to eating one's heart out. But then, on the other side, you have the path of reality, which accepts events as distant, and that leads directly to comfort and peace.
The advice here is actually beautifully simple. It's not about being passive, it's about your mental response after you've already done your best. When something happens, the first thought shouldn't be blame, it should be an attribution to a higher will. This is what stops you from getting totally derailed by sadness or guilt, and it lets you just acknowledge what happened and keep moving forward. And here's a really important thing to remember. This is not just a coping mechanism for bad times. The source is very clear that this thinking applies to everything. The good stuff that happens to you is just as predestined as the challenging moments. It's a holistic worldview, accepting all outcomes as part of a bigger plan.
So, what's the ultimate payoff? What's the real emotional and spiritual benefit of truly internalizing this perspective? Well, it's about finding this profound, lasting comfort that regret just can't touch.
This phrase from the source, it's just so powerful. Does not eat one's heart out. I mean, wow, it perfectly captures that corrosive internal pain of guilt and regret. Believing in this reality of fate is presented as the direct antidote to that self-inflicted suffering. It's a promise of inner peace.
Okay, so how do we actually put this into practice? This slide lays it out as a simple 4-step process for your mind. Step 1, an event occurs. Step 2, you immediately acknowledge that it was fated. Step 3, you consciously affirm it, maybe even say to yourself, this was to happen, and it happened. And that's what leads to step 4, you release the burden of guilt.
So, to sum it all up, our regret is so often built on this false idea that we are entirely at fault. The concept of haqiqa, or reality, shifts that view to one of divine destiny. Remember, this applies to all events, not just the tough ones. And the real takeaway here is that peace comes not from trying to change the past, but from releasing our need to carry the blame for it.
And that brings us to our final thought. As you go about your week, I just invite you to consider this wisdom. Think about the past events, whether they're big or small, that you're still carrying around. And then just ask yourself, by embracing this deeper reality, what weight of regret could you finally let go of?